morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am Annie Rose T. Acola.
I am Kyle Raven Abuyo.
I am Marijo Aguilar.
I am Mariel K. Abihay.
I am Jessica Aboga, and we are the reporters for today's discussion.
Philippines. A country with increasing urbanization, a growing middle class, and a large young population. Usually countries achieve their economic growth by slowly transitioning from agriculture, to industry, and then to the service sector. Yet for Philippines, this transition was very quick. The service sector overtook the industrial sector in terms of GDP contribution during the early 80s. It increased from 36% in 1980 to 60% today. The services sector today employs 56% of the country's workforce, which is more than the agricultural and industrial sectors combined. The main reason behind the growth of service sector is, the Philippines was a former US territory. And the US had a very strong cultural impact on Philippines. More than 90% of the people in the country speak English as their second language. The cultural similarities gave them the opportunity to become the most popular business process outsourcing country. Plus a popular destination for other back-office jobs too. And the significantly low cost, definitely adds a cherry to the top. Another source that brings a big chunk of income is remittance. The remittance accounts for more than 9% of their gross domestic product. This is a result of their good education system, which is suitable for many foreign countries. Now if we come to the industrial sector, it still holds 30% share in the country's GDP, and employs 18% of the country's workforce. This seems considerably low, and the reason behind this lies in the geography of Philippines. You see, the country is spread over 7,000 islands. This makes transportation very difficult. This also limits land for development, and it explains why Manila, the capital of Philippines, is one of the densest city in the world. The other problems include high energy prices, poor infrastructure, low FDI, and lack of ease of doing business. So this was a glimpse of the Philippines economy. To know more, watch our full detailed video linked in the description, and in the card above. Also, keep watching Global Economics.
Our topic for today is the role and scope of public finance. Before we dive into today's main topic, let's first outline our objectives. At the end of the discussion, we must be able to determine what is public finance, differentiate the difference between public finance and private finance, recognize the provision and production of public goods, analyze the emerging role of government in the economy, and discuss the public finance and the changing role of government.
So let me define what is public finance. Public finance is the management of a nation's income, debt, and spending through various government entities. It evaluates the financial activities of public authorities, including revenue and expenditure. Public finance examines how government actions impact economic stability, resource allocation efficiency, and income distribution among citizens. It manages revenue generation and spending across all public sectors, fostering economic development and highlighting the government's role in an economy's functioning and growth. The component of public finance has various activities focused on investing in national development, revenue generation, and financial planning. And the key components of public finance are the following. First is the revenue generation. This is primarily through tax levied on individuals and businesses. This income is essential for government operations. For example, the Philippine government collects income tax from its citizens, corporate tax from businesses, and sales tax on goods and services. So, taxation is a fundamental source of government revenue, enabling it to fund public services and infrastructure. Next is the expenditure allocations. So, how governments spend money? Funds are distributed to crucial areas like education, healthcare like hospital clinics, and infrastructure like roads, bridges, and social programs to improve overall living conditions. For example, our government allocate funds to build new schools and hire teachers to improve educations, construct roads and bridges to enhance infrastructure, and provide financial assistance to low-income families through social welfare programs. Careful allocation of public funds is crucial for addressing societal needs, promoting economic growth, and reducing inequality. The third one is the budget planning. It is a financial roadmap. Governments create annual budgets outlining expected income and planned spending. This plan guides financial decisions for the whole year. For example, our government creates an annual budget outlining projected tax revenue from income tax, corporate tax, and sales tax. These funds are allocated to departments for healthcare, defense, education, and other essential services. So, effective budget planning ensure efficient resource utilization and prioritizations of government spending. The fourth one is the deficit and surplus management. It is the balancing of the books. A deficit happens when the government spends more than it earns in a year, while a surplus is the opposite when income exceeds expending. For example, the US government ran a budget deficit in 2020 due to increased spending on a stimulus package to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. In contrast, during the period of economic growth, the government may experience a surplus. So, balancing government spending and revenue is crucial for maintaining fiscal stability and avoid excessive debt accumulation. The last one is the national debt. When the government spends more than it earns consistently, it borrows money, and that the accumulated amount of the borrowing is the national debt. For example, the US has a substantial national debt accumulated over decades due to consistent budget deficits. This debt represents the total amount of owed by the government to its creditor. A high national debt can impose a burden on future generations and limit the government's ability to respond to the economic challenges. So, essentially, public finance is about how government collect and spend money to run the country and improve citizens' lives. Public finance play a crucial role in supporting economic development by facilitating resource allocation, enhancing stability, and fostering sustainable growth. It aids in infrastructure development, education, healthcare, social welfare programs, public and private partnership, and fiscal policy. First is infrastructure development. By investing in infrastructure and creating clear, suitable regulations, government can cultivate an environment that encourages business growth. Additionally, strategic growth of public funds through subsidies, tax incentives, and other support programs can propel key sectors and drive overall economic advancement. Next is the education and healthcare. Public finance aid economic development by ensuring access to education and healthcare services, which are crucial for human capital development and workforce productivity. Governments allocate resources for school constructions, healthcare hiring, and financial aid programs. Next is the social welfare programs. Public finance contributes to economic development through social welfare programs that alleviate poverty and boost consumer spending. Unemployment benefits, food assistance, and other social safety nets helps improve living standards and stimulate economic activity. Those programs are funded through various sources, including taxes. Next is the public-private partnership. Public finance facilitate public and private partnerships that promote economic growth by leveraging private sector's enterprise and resources. The PPPs involves collaborations between governments and private entities to deliver public services and develop infrastructures. Government provide funding incentives and regulatory support to encourage private investment in public projects. Next is the fiscal policy. Fiscal policy encompassing government spending and taxation strategies. It is another tool used to promote economic development. And government can adjust taxation to incentivize private investment and consumer spending. Increased infrastructure spending and targeted investment in key sectors can create jobs and stimulate economic activity, contributing to overall growth and reducing income inequality. Public finance, on the other hand, can be defined as the careful planning and coordination of revenues and expenditure by a given government. It entails determining appropriate approach to funding basic needs, propelling economic activity, and ensuring the welfare of citizens by reflecting revenues, expenditure, and debt. Political authorities can ensure the stability of economic processes, stimulate infrastructure development, and enhance citizens' welfare. In conclusion, therefore, sound management of public finance is a requirement for any nation that wish to prosper in a long run.
Private finance deals only with the financial activities of individuals, households. It also deals with personal financial transactions in the private sectors. Here are some examples of private finance: consumer loans, savings accounts, and insurance policies. The private objective of private finance is to maximize individual or organizational wealth and financial well-being. Private finance derives its fund to a great extent from private sources such as personal savings, bank loans, equity investments, bonds, or other forms of private financing. It relies on voluntary transactions and participations of private individuals, organizations, and financial institutions. The importance of public finance, but first, allow me to provide you with some examples of it. Stakeholders like the government and public sectors that involve tax, public revenue, and public debt. The purpose of public finance is to control the expenses of earning money and providing goods and services to the general population. The goal of public finance is to discover the most effective way to allocate resources to accomplish government objectives. To pay for their functions and offer products and services to residents, governments must be able to collect taxable income. Public finance can also assist governments in managing national debts, resolving budgetary issues, and investigating spending that is not sufficiently paid by taxes. Having gained an understanding of public finance in general, I would like to clarify that public finance in government is an important instrument for governments to use in balancing long-term aims with short-term requirements. Its successful implementation can improve citizens' quality of life by promoting economic stability, responsible environmental management by public authorities, healthcare initiatives, and other public services tailored to citizens' needs, as well as societal issues like income inequality and access to education. To further grasp the two, let's take a look at this diagram. As you can see, private finance and public finance are somehow similar when it comes to its purpose, which is both are involve expenditure, borrowing, and income. Both aspects of finance focus on personal or societal satisfaction. But just like any other thing, they still have differences. For instance, private finance, private entities pay taxes to the public, surplus budget where revenue exceeds expenditure. On the other hand, public finance is public entities operate on annual budget, deficit budget where expenditure exceeds revenue. With that illustration, we hope that you guys can distinguish the differences of private finance and public finance. Now, let's move on to the provision and production of public goods.
Let's move on to the provision and production of public goods. First things first, we have to define what is public good. So what is public goods? According to Investopedia, a public good is a commodity or service that every member of a society can use without reducing its availability to all others. Typically, a public good is provided by a government and funded through taxes. To understand it clearly, an example of public goods are town road, park, or school. National defense is a public good. A public good may also be a basic need such as access to clean air and drinking water. There are two characteristics of public goods, the non-excludable and the non-rival goods. Non-excludable means that it is difficult or impossible to prevent anyone from using the good. Once the good is provided, everyone can benefit from it, regardless of whether they have contributed to its production or not. For instance, the park. Once it is built, you cannot filter who will use or when to that park, regardless if they pay the tax or not. The second is the non-rival rules, means that one person's consumption of the good does not reduce its availability to others. Multiple people can consume the good simultaneously without depleting it. Another example is the road. Multiple cars can drive to that specific road, and one car driving on that road doesn't take away the space from other cars. Similarly with street lights, when one person uses the light to see, the light will not dim to others who will use it. Since we already knew what is public goods, we can say that it cannot be produced only by a single individual. According to Samuelson and Nordhaus, theories about public goods have explored how the government should be involved in providing different kinds of public goods. Depending on the type of public goods, different levels of government like the national, state, country, or city government might be responsible for providing it. The right level of government to handle a public good depends on how the large community is that will benefit from it. In other words, the bigger the area or community that uses the public good, the higher the level of government that should step in to provide it. For example, the national defense is a public good that serves the entire country, so it's managed by the national government. On the other hand, a local park might be best managed by a city government because it serves a smaller local community. The provision and production of public goods are crucial functions of the government to ensure the well-being of society. Public goods, which are non-excludable and non-rivalrous, require special attention as they are not typically provided efficiently by the private sector. Governments played a vital role in this process through direct production, partnerships with private entities, regulation, and encouraging collective action within communities. These methods help ensure the public goods are available and accessible to all, meeting the needs of diverse populations. The first is government production. The government often directly produces public goods such as national defense and public infrastructure, using resources collected through taxation. This ensures that public goods are provided even when the private sector lacks incentives to do so. The second is public to private partnerships or the PPPs. In some cases, the government collaborates with private entities to produce public goods. PPPs allow the government to tap into private sector efficiency and innovation, sharing risks and benefits while ensuring that public goods are available to all. Example for this is constructing a train or a rail. The government might partner with a private company to design, build, and manage the train network. The government provides funding while the private company brings in expertise, technology, and efficiency. Next is the regulation. The government can also provide public goods through regulation. The government can regulate the provision of public goods to ensure that they are provided efficiently and equitably. An example of regulation is the government implementing PhilHealth, which mandates health insurance coverage for all Filipinos. Residents are required to contribute to the system and in return, they receive access to affordable medical services. And the last one is collective action. In some communities, public goods are produced through collective action, where members voluntarily contribute time, effort, or resources to create and maintain common goods, such as local parks or community centers. The example in the collective action is a neighborhood organizing to build and maintain a community garden. Residents might volunteer their time and resources to create the garden and keep it up, providing a shared space for everyone in the community.
Amidst a period characterized by swift technical progress, changing global dynamics, and growing socioeconomic difficulties, the significance and intricacy of the government's role in the economy have reached unprecedented levels. Governments worldwide are transitioning from their traditional duties of regulation and finance to actively shaping and designing economic transformation. This rising position encompasses not just the task of stabilizing economies and providing public amenities, but also taking the lead in implementing new measures to promote sustainable growth, technological advancement, and social fairness. As countries confront unparalleled challenges like climate change, digital disruption, and global health problems, governments are progressively utilizing their power to design economic policies that tackle both urgent concerns and long-term goals. The modern government must manage a variety of different and sometimes conflicting interests, such as promoting infrastructure projects that enhance connectivity and economic growth, as well as executing social programs that reduce inequality and assist vulnerable communities. In this changing environment, the success of government interventions will be crucial in guiding economies towards resilience, inclusion, and prosperity, demonstrating a significant change in how public institutions interact with the influence of the economic future. In the Philippines, the government's involvement in the economy has experienced substantial transformation in recent decades, mirroring changes in economic policies, political leaderships, and global economic circumstances. In order to gain a clear understanding of the Philippine government's role in our community, let us examine the individual contribution of each Philippine president to the economy, starting with Manuel L. Quezon. The contribution of Manuel L. Quezon in Philippines economy is economic nationalism, whereas it is focused on establishing economic independence through the promotions of local industries and reducing reliance on foreign goods. As well as the Commonwealth period, whereas it implemented policies aimed at preparing the Philippines for independence from the United States. Next is Sergio Osmeña. Sergio Osmeña contribution to Philippine economy is post-war reconstructions, whereas it concentrated on rebuilding the economy following World War II, focusing on infrastructures and restoring agricultural production. Next is Manuel Rojas. So his contribution to our economy is economic rehabilitation, which emphasized economic recovery and rehabilitation post-World War II, which include the rebuilding of industries and infrastructures damaged during the war. Next is Elpidio Quirino. So Philippine Rehabilitation Act is one of his program for the Philippine economy, which focused on post-war economy recovery with assistance from the United States under the Philippine Rehabilitation Act. Import substitution industrialization, or also known as ISI, is also his program, which began policies aimed at reducing foreign dependency and encouraging local production. Next is Ferdinand Marcos. So Green Revolution is one of his programs, which promoted agricultural modernization to boost productivity, particularly through high-yield crop varieties and improved farming techniques. Infrastructure development and martial law period are one of his programs as well. In infrastructure development, it initiated large-scale infrastructures projects like roads, bridges, and the Metropolitan Manila infrastructure. So in martial law period, he implemented significant economic policies, including increased state control over key industries and economic sectors during the martial law, which lasted from 1972 to 1981. Moving on to Corazon Aquino. Economic liberalization, which focuses on restoring democratic institutions and initiating economic reforms, aim at reducing government control over the economy and promoting private sector growth. Economic Recovery Program is one of her program as well, which implemented policies to stabilize the economy following the political instability of the Marcos era. Next is the 7th President of the Philippines, which is Fidel V. Ramos. So he proposed the Philippine 2000, an ambitious economic plan aimed at transforming the Philippines into a newly industrialized country by the year 2000. This program focused on infrastructure development, privatization of state-owned enterprises, and economic liberalization. Liberalization and deregulation, which continued economic reforms including deregulating key sectors like energy and telecommunication, is one of his programs as well. Next is Joseph Estrada. So Joseph Estrada proposed the Medium-Term Philippines Development Plan, or also known as MTPDP, which aimed at accelerating economic growth, reducing poverty, and improving infrastructures. Anti-corruption measures is one of his programs as well, which focuses on the anti-corruption initiatives and improving governments, although his presidency was marred by allegation of corruptions and economic instability. The 9th president, which is Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, these are the economic programs that she proposed. First is the 10-point agenda, which emphasized economic stability, infrastructure development, and reducing poverty. These key projects including the expansion of road networks and investment in education. So Philippine Development Plan, or PDP, is one of her program as well, which focuses on achieving macroeconomic stability, poverty reduction, and investing in infrastructure. Next is Benigno Aquino III. One of his program that helped our economy is inclusive growth, which prioritize policies aimed at promoting inclusive growth and economic development through the good governance and anti-corruption measures. Philippine Development Plan or PDP 2011 to 2016, which focuses on the poverty reduction, economic resilience, and sustainability development. The public-private partnership is, or also known as PPP, is one of his program as well, which promoted the PPP program to spur infrastructure's development and improve public services. Next is Rodrigo Duterte. Former President Rodrigo Duterte Build 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 program also helped our economy. Build 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 program is a major infrastructure initiative aimed at improving transportation, logistics, and connectivity across the country. The Comprehensive Tax Reform Program or CTRP is also one of his programs which implemented tax reforms to enhance revenue collection and support infrastructures and social programs. Next is Pivot to China, which shifted foreign policy focused towards strengthening economic ties with China and attracting Chinese investment. And lastly is Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., which is elected during the 2022 election and up until this present day. So one of his program is Build Better More program, which is the successor to the previous administration's infrastructures program, focusing on further infrastructure development to boost economic growth. Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs is also one of his program which emphasizes on aligning economic policies with sustainable development goals including climate resilience and environmental protection. And economic recovery and digital transformation is one of his program as well, which continued focusing on economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, including the initiatives for digital transformation and improving the ease of doing business. Many of you may be curious about which administration has achieved the most significant economic improvement. To answer this question, our team has conducted extensive research. So, analyzing the economic policies of Philippine presidents that resulted in a considerably economic progress involves evaluating important criteria such as the gross domestic product growth, poverty reduction, infrastructure development, and overall economic stability. Based on historical records from the National Economic and Development Authority, or also known as NEDA, the annual budget reports from the Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, and various government publications from each presidential administration, the following four administrations have been particularly significant. So first on the list is the Ferdinand Marcos administration. Under this administration, the economy had initial advantages from substantial infrastructural initiatives in the Green Revolution, which enhanced the agricultural productivity of the Philippines. Significant advancement comprised the construction of roads, bridges, and the Manila International Airport. Nevertheless, his legacy was tarnished by economic instability and corruption difficulties, ultimately resulting in a financial disaster during the last year of his presidency. Although there were significant improvements, the lasting economic consequences were eclipsed by the financial and political upheaval. Next on the list is Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, which served as the President of the Philippines from 2001 until 2010. So Arroyo's administration is characterized by its capacity to sustain economic stability in the face of global concerns. During her time in the office, there was consistent economic expansion, enhanced financial administration, and a rise in international investments. The Philippines demonstrated resilience amid the 2008 global financial crisis, in part due to the implementation of efficient economic policies and adherence to fiscal discipline. In addition, her administration maintained its focus on infrastructure development and poverty reduction programs, which played a significant role in ensuring consistent economic advantages. Third on the list is Benigno Aquino III, which served as the President of the Philippines from 2010 until 2016. So Aquino's administration was characterized by strong economic expansion and enhanced international credit ratings. The administration's emphasizes on inclusive growth, anti-corruption initiative, and the Philippines Development Plan or the PDP, which resulted in notable economic accomplishments. The Public-Private Partnership, or also known as PPP initiative, has facilitated significant infrastructure developments, hence improving economic activity and public services. The Aquino administration is frequently praised for its significant economic expansion and effective executions of governance reform. And last on the list is the former President Rodrigo Duterte. He prioritizes the significant infrastructure development with the implementation of the Build initiative, which intended to enhance transportation and logistics. This project was anticipated to enhance long-term economic expansion. In addition, tax reforms and initiatives to attract foreign investors were put into effect. Nevertheless, the economy was greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in the last years, resulting in substantial disruptions and necessitating enormous recovery endeavors. Although the administration had ambitious goals, the overall economic performance was hindered by the consequences of the epidemic. So upon thorough research, Benigno Aquino III has been recognized among the recent presidents for his highly influential and favorable impact on the Philippine economy. The administration accomplished strong economic growth, enhanced governance, and gained international acclaims for its economic reforms. The confluence of efficacious anti-corruption efforts, infrastructure's development facilitated by the PPP program, and the robust economic governance fostered a phase of remarkable economic success and stability. Now that we have known the economic projects of each president, let us move on to the national budget of each president, starting with Manuel L. Quezon. So for Manuel L. Quezon's national budget, historical data for Quezon's administration is limited, but early budgets were modest, reflecting the pre-war economic context and the establishment of the Commonwealth government. For Sergio Osmeña, the national budget during his term was heavily focused on post-war reconstruction budget. So the budget data from this administration is not well documented in specific figures, but was primarily allocated to rebuilding efforts and economic recovery. On the other hand, for Manuel Rojas, during his presidency, the budget was focused on recovery and rehabilitation following World War II. Specific figures are sparse, but the emphasis was on economic stabilization and rebuilding. For Elpidio Carino, the administration national budget ranged from approximately 1.5 billion to 2.5 billion pesos annually, focusing on post-war economic reconstruction and development. Meanwhile, for Ferdinand Marcos, the budget expanded significantly, which reflecting large-scale infrastructures projects and social programs. By the end of his administration in the mid-1980s, the national budget had grown to over 80 billion pesos. Next is Corazon Aquino. Under Aquino, the budget ranged from approximately 100 billion to 200 billion pesos annually. The focus was on stabilizing the economy and restoring the democratic institutions. Next is Fidel V. Ramos. So Ramos' administration saw a budget of about 300 billion to 400 billion pesos annually. The budget was used to support economic reforms and infrastructure development. Next is Joseph Estrada. Estrada's term had a national budget of approximately 500 billion pesos annually. His budget focused on infrastructure, social programs, and anti-corruption initiatives. For Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, the budget increased significantly during her presidency, ranging from 800 billion to 1.4 trillion pesos annually. The budget was allocated towards infrastructures, poverty reduction, and economic stability. For Benigno Aquino III, during his term, the budget grew from 1.6 trillion pesos to 3 trillion annually. The increased budget supported infrastructure projects, social programs, and economic reforms. Next is Rodrigo Duterte. Duterte's administration saw a budget ranging from approximately 3 trillion pesos to 5 trillion pesos annually. The budget was heavily focused on infrastructures under the Build program, social services, and the COVID-19 response. Next is Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Let us focus more to the national budget under the Marcos Jr. administration. So the national budget under Ferdinand Marcos Jr. are the following. So for the 2022 budget, the approved budget was 5.2 trillion pesos. The focus of this budget aimed to support economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, infrastructure development, and social services. The key allocations included health, education, and economic stimulus programs. For the 2023 budget, the approved budget was 5.26 trillion pesos. So this budget continued to prioritize infrastructure projects under the Build Better More program, healthcare improvements, and social protection programs. It also included measurements to address the inflation and economic impacts from the global uncertainties. So for the 2024 budget, his administration proposed a budget of approximately 5.7 trillion. The focus of this budget aims to further support infrastructure development, including major transportation and connectivity projects. It also includes the provision for disaster response, educating, and healthcare. The emphasis is on sustaining economic growth and improving resilience against the economic shocks. Did you know that President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. emphasized many economic accomplishments of the Philippines in his 2024 State of the Nation Address or SONA? The following are the primary economic accomplishments outlined in his 2024 SONA. The first is the robust economic growth, which said that the Philippine economy demonstrated strong growth, with GDP expanding at a rate of approximately 6.5% for 2023, continuing a positive trajectory from previous years. The growth reflects effective economic policies and recovery from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, positioning the Philippines as one of the most resilient economies in the region. Next is infrastructure development. The administration made significant progress under the Build Better More program. Key infrastructure projects completed or nearing completion include the North-South Commuter Railway Extension, the expansion of the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, and several major highways and bridges. These projects are expected to improve connectivity, reduce travel time, and stimulate economic activity by enhancing transportation networks. Aside from that, he also said in his SONA the achievement of the digital transformation, which has been a notable expansion in digital infrastructure, including the rollout of enhanced broadband networks and the development of digital payment system. Initiatives to promote digital literacy and support tech startups have also advanced. So the significance of this, according to President Bongbong, was enhanced digital infrastructure supports economic activities and financial inclusion, while digital transformation helps the Philippines keep pace with global technological advancement. Fourth on the list of the achievements that President Marcos said is the investment inflows. So the Philippines has seen an increase in foreign direct investment or FDIs driven by improved investors' confidence and strategic economic reforms. New economic zones and incentives for investors have been implemented to attract more international capital. The significance of this, according to President Bongbong, is higher investment inflows contribution to job creations, technology transfer, and overall economic development. Fifth on the list is the agricultural modernization. These programs such as the Magsasaka Siyensa or MASY have been successful in integrating modern agricultural techniques with traditional practice. Investment in agricultural infrastructure and technology have also been made. So the significance of this is the efforts aim to boost agricultural productivity, which ensures food security and support rural development. The sixth on the list is the poverty reduction and social programs. So the achievement of this program is the government has made strides in reducing poverty through the enhanced social protection programs and targeted interventions. The expansion of the Pantawid Pamilya Filipino program, or also known as 4Ps, and other social welfare initiatives have been highlighted. So the significance of this program is to addressing poverty through social program is crucial for inclusiveness, growth, and improvement the quality of life for the country's most vulnerable population. The second to the last on the list is the disaster resilience initiatives. So the achievement of this program is significant investment have been made in disaster response infrastructure and early warning systems. The community-based resilience programs has also been strengthened. The significance is to improving disaster resilience, help protect lives, reduce economic losses, and support quicker recovery from natural calamities. And lastly, as he said on his SONA, is the sustainable development and green energy. The achievement of this program is the progress in green energy projects and sustainability initiative has been reported, including the advancement in solar, wind, and hydroelectric power projects. So the significance of this program, as the President says, is these initiatives support the country's commitment to reducing carbon emission and promoting sustainable development. Overall, the economic impact of Philippine presidents as determined by their national budgets and policies has significantly altered the country's path of growth and development. Each administration, from Ferdinand Marcos to Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Benigno Aquino III, and Rodrigo Duterte, has made distinct contribution to the economic development of the country. Marcos focused on infrastructure, Arroyo on fiscal stability, Aquino Duterte on inclusive growth and governance reforms, and Duterte on ambitious infrastructure projects. These comments highlight the changing and crucial roles of government in guiding economic advancement, maintaining stability, and tackling current difficulties. In the midst of a challenging economic landscape, the Philippines must draw from the experiences of previous administrations to understand the significance of careful planning, efficient governance, and flexible policies in promoting long-lasting and equitable development. Now, let's move on to our next topic.
Now, let's take a closer look at public finance, which, as you might already know, is the study of state revenues and expenditures. Over time, it's clear that public finance has undergone numerous changes, especially in connection with the evolving role of government in the contemporary economy. It's crucial to understand that the government's involvement in the economy hasn't been static. It's actually been quite dynamic, shifting based on the prevailing economic theory, responding to social needs, or addressing systemic issues not just here, but across the world. Historically, governments have focused on providing essential public goods and services. These include things like infrastructure, defense, education, law and order, and healthcare. Essentially, these are core responsibilities meant to ensure the well-being and prosperity of citizens. For example, consider the role of the government in financing and managing national highways. This is crucial for ensuring that people can transport goods and travel effectively. Additionally, the government plays a key role in subsidizing public schools and universities, which makes education accessible to everyone regardless of their socioeconomic status. By redistributing income through progressive taxation and social welfare programs, the government also aims to reduce inequality and manage economic cycles such as recessions and inflation using fiscal policy. This holistic approach underscores the government's commitment to balancing economic stability with social equity. The expanding role of government in today's globalized economy is both significant and complex. As we move through an era marked by globalization, countries are increasingly interconnected, which has shifted how fiscal policy is approached. Governments now face the challenge of balancing domestic needs with international obligations. This new capacity requires a more nuanced approach to regulation and intervention, often involving international partnerships. It underscores the fact that leadership is evolving rapidly, and the ability to adapt and innovate is crucial for success in 21st century governance. Furthermore, continuous innovation, especially through digitalization, is transforming industries and societies. This puts pressure on governments to address emerging issues such as the taxation of digital transactions, data protection, and cybersecurity. Similarly, global warming demands higher public expenditure and proactive state action as nations seek to balance economic development with environmental sustainability. The recent rise in income disparity has also refocused attention on the need for robust social safety nets and progressive taxation. Additionally, demographic changes such as an aging population and increasing urban migration place greater demands on public finances for healthcare, pensions, and infrastructure. Collectively, these factors are broadening the role of government, necessitating a more sophisticated approach to public finance and policymaking to effectively address these modern challenges. The role of government has significantly expanded in recent years, extending well beyond the traditional provision of public goods and services. Today, governments are actively involved in managing industries, preserving the environment, safeguarding social interests, and addressing social justice issues. The concept of the welfare state has become more prominent, with governments now responsible for ensuring a safety net through social support and welfare programs. Moreover, governments are increasingly engaged in fostering economic growth, creating jobs, and driving innovation through targeted policies and schemes. The once straightforward role of simply providing public goods has evolved into a more complex and multifaceted one, addressing the diverse needs and challenges of contemporary society. To respond effectively to these challenges, governments are expanding their roles to include several key areas. Market regulation, ensuring fair competition, protecting consumers, and setting environmental standards to maintain a balanced and equitable market. Innovation and technology, investing in research and development, supporting startups, and fostering an environment conducive to technological advancement. Social safety nets, broadening social programs to combat poverty, unemployment, and inequality, thereby providing essential support to those in need. Sustainable development, advocating for a green economy, promoting renewable energy, and facilitating climate adaptation to ensure long-term environmental sustainability. Risk management, preparing for and responding to crises such as pandemics, natural disasters, and economic shocks to protect and stabilize society. Governments must also better address issues like public debt. Managing public debt is a significant challenge for governments, requiring a careful balance to avoid compromising economic growth and social programs. In the Philippines, high levels of public debt have at times led to concerns about the sustainability of fiscal policies. For example, during the Asian financial crisis of the late 1990s, the Philippines faced challenges in managing its debt, which impacted its economic stability and ability to invest in social services. Effective management involves controlling debt levels while still funding essential public services and investing in growth. The second one is governance and corruption. Enhancing transparency, accountability, and efficiency in public administration is crucial for maintaining public trust. In the Philippines, issues of corruption have been a significant concern, with various scandals over the years, highlighting the misuse of public funds. For instance, the fourth barrel scam exposed the misuse of government funds intended for development projects, leading to widespread criticism and calls for reform. Addressing governance challenges involves implementing strong anti-corruption measures, ensuring transparency in public procurement, and promoting a culture of accountability within government institutions. By addressing these challenges, the government can better support economic stability, maintain public trust, and promote equitable development. Public finance is a dynamic field, constantly adapting to the evolving needs of society. These issues require innovative public finance strategies and a rethinking of the government's role. Effective public finance is essential for building resilient and prosperous nations.
In conclusion, public finance plays a crucial role in shaping the economy and society. By studying it, we can gain insights into how government decisions on taxations, spending, and public goods provision impact economy stability and social welfare. As the role of government continues to evolve in response to modern challenges, understanding public finance becomes essential for informed decision-making and effective governance in our increasingly complex world.
Habang binabalikan natin ang pamamahala ng gobyerno sa pondo ng bayan, tanungin natin, ang mga yaman bang ito ay tunay na ginagamit para sa kapakanan ng sambayanan o para lamang sa kapakinabangan ng iilan? Ang mga desisyon sa pampublikong pondo ay nagpapakita ng tunay na prioridad ng manaihalal. Sa papalapit na halalan ng 2025, mahalagang pag-isipan kung natupad ba ng kasalukuyang administrasyon ang pangako nito sa taong bayan o lumihis na sa tungkulin. Paalala, maging mapanuri, maging matalino at pumili ng maingat. Nasa ating mga kamay ang kapangyarihang hubugin ang kinabukasan ng ating bansa.